Hi there, it's Dr. JOYLYN Sparkles and welcome to your Power Hour. This is your time to put what's on your mind, on my mind, and we will put our heads and hearts together and we will come up with a way to get you from stuck to happy as fuck in the shortest amount of time possible. So today, I am excited to talk to you. I actually did a presentation yesterday and I couldn't get through all of the information, as is typical. I had too much planned to pack in, but I was on a really tight time limit, and so I couldn't get it all in. But lucky for you, I have more time today, so I can get it all in because it is really what is coming up. I see it a lot in my life. I am hearing it from clients and questions from this group and some of the content and the tone of what's been posted. So I wanted to address it because it's something that is huge. How do you balance wanting to be better and being non-judgmental and letting things be okay? How do you do that? Because it seems if you're doing one, you're not doing the other. If you are striving for improvement, tend to get caught up and stuck in judgment and that things aren't good enough and chasing symptoms, trying to make things better, overthinking, trying too hard, and ending up in old patterns. But then conversely, if you just agree that things are okay and everything's working out, you tend to feel off, partly because your nervous system isn't used to things just being okay, so there will be that, but you feel complacent or lazy, or can get frustrated because things aren't happening fast enough and you want to speed them along. How do you do this? And let me just start by saying that when we talk about balance, for most of us, one of the first images is either the scales or a tightrope. And neither one of those are easy places to be in. To where it is time for us to reconfigure balance and looking more at integrity and homeostasis, having a flow to where things are sort of matching each other, ebbing and flowing. Because that's actually what balance is. It's more of a wholeness than a figuring out a knife's point edge of one or the other so everything just stays as it is and you got to hold your breath. Because we can't live there. So let's relax and start redefining and reconceptualizing what balance even is. Because that's going to give us a little bit more space to play, because whenever we're doing two things that are seemingly opposite, but remember they're not because the universe loves paradigms, and doing something that we haven't done before, because otherwise we'd already be good at it, but most of us did not get this level of modeling or the information from our authorities, educational systems, parents, people who are supposed to know and tell us these things. We didn't get it. Okay, so you're doing things you've never done before, and you're breaking out of conditioning as far as something that you did do or were doing did work at one time, and your nervous system wrapped itself and organized itself around that, and now you're seeing it's not working, so you got to do something else, so now your nervous system's got to figure out what the hell is up. And in that, there's always the fun blend of spirituality, physicality, emotionality is kind of the in-betweens of that, and figuring out where the hell is the actual imbalance taking place and what actually needs to be done. None of these are necessarily easy questions, but we don't have to fear them, resist them, or refuse them so that they never get answered. Then when we start getting better at asking them, we can actually stop resisting the information that we get, because sometimes the information that we get is pause, do nothing, things are actually okay. So I'll start, and this wasn't even on the outline, but one of the paradigms that the universe speaks in that is true, and sometimes you can repeat it like a mantra so that it will get through to you, is everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Because when we're looking at a circumstance or a situation, we're perceiving it so that that is real. That's what's happening. Let's say I got a flat tire. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. That tire is actually flat. You're not imagining that there's no air in that tire. It is flat. But also nothing is exactly the way that it appears to be. And that means that it might be a flat tire, but it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's not that the car can't move ever again. And it might be an answer to a prayer as far as, I don't know, the person who comes to change your tire might end up being your best friend. You might get a job booking from the flat tire. You might have avoided a car accident. Some of the things we'll never know. You know, everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And the reason we get stuck is because we look at things very finitely from one slice of time when it wasn't complete. So there's a whole completeness it's playing in. The universe has no waste, so that whatever is appearing to you is just a snippet of it. It's what it is, but that's not all of what it is. Does that make sense? So there are times, sometimes when things are coming hot and heavy, and especially it helps like when it's like external circumstances that you seem can't control. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And sometimes I'll just say that because it helps the mind relax, because the mind is trying so hard to figure things out, and it drives us crazy. And actually, that level of mental activity will start to physically wear us down because it will generate lots of stress chemistry. That does take a physical toll and then put us back into that brain chemistry, so it's a very bad cycle to get into. So sometimes this can help. Okay. Now, how do you always start getting out of a cycle? Well, for most of us, it starts with recognition that whatever is happening is not what we'd actually like. That's where we all start. Whatever this is shit and I don't like it. Okay? It's awareness is what it really is. I don't like this. That's fine. That is the starting point. Okay? But the next point is not to do more to avoid getting this or to try hard to control things so that they don't go this way anymore or to stop what's happening. Sometimes there will be some of that, but that's not the key. The biggest key is to then get curious about what it is you do want. You have awareness of what you don't like. That's where almost all of us start. What would you like? Then you refine it. How do you do this? Because if what I'd like is for him or her or it to change and that puts it out of your control, you gotta, what do I want? I want to feel at peace. I want to feel freedom. I want to have more self-confidence. I want to have a healthier body. I would like to change my financial situation. I would like to be a better communicator. I would like to feel more connected with my family. I would like to live in harmony with the land. Like whatever it is, you start getting curious about what that is for you. That alone is more powerful than you know. So that at first it will seem like that's just a fun intellectual exercise and it kind of gets my hopes up for nothing, but it's not. In doing that, you are changing what it is you are looking at. You change your brain chemistry and your physiology then starts to change. Secondly, you start changing who you identify as, and instead of coming and believing that you're somebody who wishes that things could change, that you wish things were different, that you were in very reactive, trying, you start stepping into and becoming an agent and someone who has this. Again, though, like everything else, you will have to do this more than once. Because there is nothing, including an identity shift, that when you do it just one time, that it's done forever. What happens is you do it and you do it and you do it, you'll end up at a tipping point to where somewhere things just click and you know that they'll never be the same. You might still deal with old patterns and stuff, but somehow you know that you're different, and then it starts to gather even more momentum to where that's just you full time. So that's why it's always important. That's why every single program in the Happiness Clinic starts with this future forward focus. You changing and claiming your identity as someone who has these targets and choosing, making choices, choosing your thoughts as the person that has this. That's the biggest one. And one thing that will help you do this is to get in line. It's knowing your why, knowing what it is that you want to have. What brings you joy? What would you like to have more of in your life? How do you want to show up? All those questions that I ask over and over and over, that's how we get this information. Then from there, we ought to know, just like I said, there is no one and done. You have to do it and do it and do it again. Repetition is the mother of skill. I think they say necessity is the mother of invention. Repetition is the mother of skill. Mothers, best friends, whatever. Okay, so you're going to have to do this a lot. And where I would like to say, you start again. You never are starting over. You have an accumulation of life experience, and life is cumulative, so it all adds up to where even like yesterday in my presentation, if it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back, you're not starting behind. You've gained information in all those steps that you can now use to propel you forward. So it's just starting again, because the recipe for success is fall 7 times, stand up 8. That's all it takes. You just keep going. Now in this, what I'm also building into every single program is rest, because you do not have to prove that you are doing by continuing to push and grind and push and grind. Because one of the reasons you might have fallen over is because you were just plain fucking fatigued and you needed a break. That shit makes a difference. Trust me. If nothing else, one of the biggest teachers of my life is athletic training. And right now I am in a high intensity interval program that is designed to change, and it's working. Oh my goodness. But he always keeps saying, push until you can't, rest until you can. And I've started to see how this is in my whole life. He's like, push and rest aren't opposites, they're synergists. If you push so hard you need to rest, you actually are giving your body information, and it changes the chemistry that's going on for hours and days afterwards, which is what we're trying to get. But if you don't push yourself hard enough, you don't get that. But if you don't rest, you can't push that hard. All you can do is trot along and pace and just barely make it. That's what we've been doing. We've been piecing shit together, holding it together. It's time to do something different. Let's push and get to know ourselves as somebody who really is energetic, vital, tenacious. And also someone who loves himself enough to rest, to say, I got to back off and I have to let things unfold. I have to trust that the work that I've done is going to make a difference. And I have to rest in order for it to integrate. And then you start again when you're ready. Amazing how that works, okay? Now in this, there are a couple of caveats that I do want to talk about. If you've done it once, you can do it again. It may or may not be the very next time. But more and more, you're going to be able to do it, repeat it, and start to strengthen and tonify those neural synapses, because everything's coming down to the nervous system, okay? So it's getting those neural sequences firing more rapidly, having the, microglial cells prune so that they are even more efficient, getting the right nutrients so they get myelinated, so they are insulated and faster. All of that's happening. Then it's action that matters, not intention. Here is where a lot of you smarty pants and gifted kids and early traumatic dissociators, hi, that's me, and probably you, we can't do it all in our head. There was a time where our sensitivities and our heightened awareness and alertness has served us. We have lived this long, and we can be very energetically and emotionally attuned to those around us so that we can be a gift to our surroundings and make things more comfortable, pleasant, and be an empathic listener. And sometimes we run too many scenarios in our head and we don't actually take any action so that we can't actually get the information that we're looking for because it requires action to get it. In Access Consciousness, he always says choice creates awareness. I'm saying action brings awareness. A lot of times that piece of information that we need doesn't become available or tangible until we take a step. The action may precede the next awareness that we're looking for. But because we are so steeped and clinging to security and wanting that, we want to know before we take the next step. When it's really taking the step is what's going to determine this. This is also very true with our emotions. We want someone else to tell us something so that we'll feel good about ourselves. We want to get a compliment so that we'll feel good about ourselves. We want our days to change so that we'll feel better about what we're doing. When really we choose how we're going to feel about ourselves, and then that other stuff starts to show up. We are what's happening to our lives. And we do that by taking action. Now, again, sometimes the action is to pause or to rest. Those are actually actions. And more, the more we choose them, we are going to get the awareness and sense the difference in our body of when they are an inspired action, we're letting things integrate, versus when we are hoping that things are perfect and more aligned so that we're more comfortable in starting. More and more, our bullshit meters are going to get more and more tightly refined so that we can't pull a fast one on ourselves. It's annoying, but very beneficial. Which brings me to, I just read this the other day in a book called Slaying Your Fear by Adam Lane Smith. Excellent resource. It's a good starter book about attachment issues for adults. Fairly easy read, but I'm going to talk about it more and more, so if you want the Cliff's Notes, here it is. That's what I do. But he talked about pursuing perfection. And I really liked that more than I thought, because it isn't about expecting perfection. And it's not about waiting for perfection. You know, a lot of us, especially when we get into the metaphysical and we do start expanding our awareness, how synchronicities happen more often and we notice them. But then we start to look for them and try to manufacture them so that we'll know we're on the right path. And if you've ever been around somebody like this, you almost want to laugh because it's a little bit ridiculous. Oh my God, I just saw a blue jay on a Tuesday, and it was the 4th Tuesday of the month, which is exactly what it was, you know, and it just gets to be too much. Sometimes there's shit that will come in your path and you can't ignore it. For the last 4 days, it's been red-tailed hawk. Actually, okay, week. Every time I went for a walk, I found a hawk feather, or it would be like one time it took off and it was like seriously 2 feet in front of me. I could almost touch that thing to where it's like, attention gotten. There it is. There's a message for me. Now, what it actually is, I wasn't exactly sure. That was a little bit frustrating. But that's how the universe a lot of times will talk to me with animal things. All I have to do is pay attention. I don't have to look for it. I don't necessarily have to seek it out and try so hard. I can trust that it's actually there. Okay, same thing when it comes to pursuing perfection. Instead of waiting for everything to line up just perfectly so you know if I should take this job, if I should do this, you're just going to get little signs, but it's up to you to make the move. And then you'll know for sure, okay? But in pursuing perfection, what I liked is that it really went with nature in that it is natural for us to be behind perfection. Because there is no perfection on this side of heaven. It's actually basically impossible. We're in the land of duality, and it's part of the setup. It's part of the fun, so we can experience and learn things about ourselves that whole and complete 100% of the time. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fucking perfect, right? And bliss. But that there's a little bit more experimentation and play when you're working with duality, and that's just where we are on this physical plane, on this planet Earth, okay? So, of course, we're going to be chasing something, you know? We're going to be trying to get there. That's natural. That's how this is set up. But the other thing that I was like, oh my God, aren't we so cute? Because how many of us, I'm chasing that carrot dangling on a string. Guess who tied it there? I did! Because only me would know what carrot was interesting enough for me to go for, that it would get my attention and that I would keep going for it, and that the only way that I can actually have it is when I'm totally me, because I'm attached to the carrot. The metaphor is so freaking perfect, but you tied the carrot to the string and you're holding the fishing pole that's holding the carrot on a string, okay? And you're the one going for the carrot and reaching for it. It is just like the most brilliant setup ever. And you pursue it. Why? Because you really want the carrot. It's your heart's desire. It's what you decided to incarnate into duality for in the first place. One of the things, because there's usually not just one. Okay, so pursue perfection. Don't get mad about the dangling carrot setup. It's just the design. So we can let that go. So in this, that's where there is this continuous improvement, and we want that carrot. We want to see ourselves succeed. We want to experience and know ourselves as something other than what we currently are. And there's nothing wrong with that. That actually is coming from within. And at the same time, there will be times when that is happening, you're going to have to trust that it's happening even when it doesn't feel like it's happening. So instead of reacting and trying to get something to happen, that we relax a little bit and recognize there's nothing else to be done here at the moment. This will come especially, and we can use some processes as far as athletic training, weight loss, health issues, to where you're doing all the right things. Why aren't they getting better? Well, because the body's going to address the most serious things first, which may or may not be what you're actually staring at or looking to change. For instance, I've had some health stuff come up that was old stuff, skin issues, digestive issues, and wondering what the heck is wrong. And for a couple of weeks was just chasing symptoms, trying to get a supplement to address this symptom and this symptom and this symptom. And then I finally got wise, and remember I was a naturopathic doctor, and said, okay, that's not actually addressing it. I only get a little bit of relief sometimes, and it's not even reliable. So it's something else, and I bet it's something that's connected. Hey, look who's the relationship coach. It's all connected, okay? So I started going deeper, and I do believe most things are deficiency symptoms, because even if you have an excess, if you have what you need, you can deal with it much more easily. What was deficient? Always, guys, always there's going to be love in there. This is always a call for more self-love. And that was somewhat deficient because I was getting very judgmental about my situation, very judgmental towards my body. And this was a call for me to heal my relationship with my body a little bit deeper. So there is that. But that alone wasn't really making the changes that I needed in my body. And I recognized there's actually a deficiency in some nutrients. I don't have what it is I actually need to deal with this on a physical level. Because what I've now discovered, because I finally got some lab tests back, there is some heavy metal detox that's happening. And if I am not moving, breathing, eating, and in other ways doing things that are supporting the elimination of this, it's just creating problems. And so a lot of the symptoms were my body letting me know I don't have the nutrients I need to deal with this. Because the heavy metal toxicity, I wasn't actually planning on detoxing heavy metals. However, I have been on a mission for the last 42 years to know who I am, which is going to get rid of a lot of heavy shit, right? Don't you think that's going to be happening on the physical plane as well? I've really changed how I've eaten in the last year and eaten so much more healthy, so much more water, so much more greens than even I ate in medical school. And so my body is actually starting to get, oh, we can start getting rid of some of this stuff. And now changing how I exercise, so instead of overexhausting and being in a further pushing me into a cortisol drive and being really fatigued, my body's recognizing, oh, we're doing short bursts of stuff. Now I have actually time to work on this stuff. Starting intermittent fasting like what, 2.5, almost 3 years ago, to where it's, oh, we don't always have to be processing food. We can start processing some of this other stuff that's been stored for a long time. All of these things are adding up, but without the proper nutrients, because some were still deficient. I've also changed climates. A little extra emotional turmoil is always thrown in there, to where it was, okay, sometimes you need a little extra rest, love, affection, attention, some water, something. Deprivation is not noble. And as soon as you recognize, because at first it might not hit you that that's what it is, but as soon as you recognize that you need something, to love yourself enough to find a way to make it available to you. So that this constant drive for improvement, how we balance it, how we really make this a process that's going to be nurturing, is to never be coming at it as there was ever anything wrong with me in the first place. I don't have to improve because something's wrong. I want to improve because I want to see me as something else. I want to have more. I want to experience more. I want to be able to impact more than I currently do. That's why I want to improve. And then if that's my actual goal, when I get the call to rest, to replete, to replenish, to recreate, I say yes to those, because that will further improve and accelerate my improvement process. And I had a really, really great question. If you guys haven't looked into, and I mean, I'm going to be honest, all the programs at the Happiness Clinic are amazing. But I just had a real heart-to-heart call with the Happiness Brain Training group, and kind of reinvigorated and reignited, to where there's some really brilliant shares this morning, and a really good question as far as, if I know I'm overthinking, how do I not do that and learn something else? And it was really all about what I've talked about over and over is you don't necessarily, it's harder to just stop doing something. Sometimes there will be a point in the process where, you call and you just have to, buckle down. But instead of combating the overthinking, what we're learning to do is be present with the overthinking, to witness it without reacting, and it will start to fade on its own. How we accelerate that process is to get in touch with, I know that the potential to not be an overthinker and to not be driven by my thoughts, to not be run ragged, to not have to overanalyze every single thing, I know that's actually possible because I've seen somebody do it. I've had a moment where I did it and I remembered liking it. I know that that's available, so that's what you set your target to. That's just how it begins. And then the process is, what's not congruent with that is going to show up. You're going to start to notice how much you overthink. But what you do then is notice it and let it be okay. Because as soon as you make it wrong, as soon as you combat it, there's an equal and opposing reaction. I believe it's what Newtonian physics even has this. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you try to combat overthinking, you just create more overthinking. You have to actually just watch it. And it's the shit it's uncomfortable because it's different, because it doesn't feel like you're doing enough. But you have to trust. And now, and more, we've been seeing that now that we're kind of paying attention, people have actually been saying this for thousands and thousands of years, that in doing nothing, everything gets done. And, being the one that you are, the being, is actually the one that's observing the thinking, not the thinker. So all the evidence is there. All the tools you need are there. What's just really helpful is having a coach, because when you're in the weeds, sometimes it's hard to know where the next step is or where to go. It's good to get encouragement, and it's good to have community. Because still quantitatively, statistically, you are not normal. You being here, you being interested in this level of consciousness and presence and awareness and having this as your life, are still on the outlier part of the bell-shaped curve. But the more of us that gather there, we're going to shift it to where this does become normal. But for the meantime, while your social circles are changing, because they will change as you go for this, it's nice to know other people are there who have some shared experience and have some idea of what you're going through, so you don't have to feel alone, so that you have somebody you can talk to if you need this, to sometimes just be inspired and be like, other people are facing their demons and practicing new skills and being willing to be bad at things, and they're doing it and they're succeeding. I can see other people succeed. Having a community is really, really important. So with that, know that continuous improvement, that's your soul saying, I'm infinite, so I just want to see more of me. That's natural. That's natural to who you truly are as a being. That's not just you being dissatisfied. That's natural. But how you balance that with letting things be okay is knowing that this internal, insatiable drive for improvement is not being caused or driven by something's wrong to the beginning, because it's coming from perfection. It's coming from whole, perfect, and complete. There's nothing actually that needs to improve. It's just curiosity. So you've got this need to improve, but it's not because anything's wrong. It's just because you want something different, better, but you're experiencing it in the realm of duality, to where there does seem to be a little bit more of a better, worse, this is more fun to experience, lighter, heavier sort of comparisons and contrasts. And knowing that then, within this duality thing, there's a time to push, there's a time to rest. There's a time to take action, there's a time to let those actions integrate. And the balance is just being a space to hold all of that and remain curious. And I'm going to say, get in the happiness program. There are several to choose from, but this is what we're playing with. This kind of badassery, these are the people you'll be playing with and meeting. So let's talk and get you in, because it's time. It's the full moon. Some of the shit that you've been pushing down for a while is now completely visible. You can energize your intentions for improvement, and then you can actually put your money where your mouth is, take action, and jump in. Also being able to trust that it's going to go in the way that you'd like it, because you've got somebody guiding you. There's a framework and a platform so that you can't go off the rails. You can't fall between the cracks. You can't not improve. Okay? This is my invitation for you. Schedule a call for clarity. You can message me. Also feel free to share this. because this was a jam-packed power hour, and thank you so much for sticking with me through this. So like, share, comment, and schedule a call for clarity so that you get to join and be part of this awesomeness. Thank you so much, Thomas. I absolutely love those emojis. You know, anytime there's color involved, I love it. And so I'm already looking forward to talking to you next week for Power Hour. Until then, have an amazing, amazing day. So much love. Mwah.